Okay, guess I'm here to talk about a few things. I know that some time ago I decided to do a cover of a song. Oliver Anthony has this song, North, the rich men north of Richmond, right? So yeah, it's just I guess it became like a really big popular song. And supposedly the guy was really relatively unknown. And then yeah, he suddenly he put out that song, and now he's known, you know. And I know like on this channel, like I mean I'm not sure how to define this channel. I mean, in the I guess it's kind of like over like the last few years, it's kind of become something where I'm doing a lot of covers, and I when I'm doing the covers, I'm trying to just mix it up a lot and try to like represent all kinds of voices that are out there. Um, but like I guess the reality of this of today, and I think sometimes I've talked about this is that you have like a lot of division. You have division, and yeah, I guess you have the left and the right, and and I guess like somehow this song I guess this song it was kind of some considered it being like a song for the right, and I know when I first listened to the song, I wasn't. I mean, actually, somebody sent me the song. I didn't even really know who it was, what it was. I didn't even know it was like a famous song. I just thought it was just some regular guy singing a song. But anyway, then I guess I realized that it was popular and stuff, and I decided to cover it, and I looked at the words and stuff, and I had a little bit of confusion because yeah, I mean I said I saw some parts that I said yeah, this sounds like things that you might hear on the right, but then I saw other elements that I said, oh no, maybe this song is really for the people, and I believe he said it was for the people, um, and I it sort of disturbs me sometimes, the idea that it would have to be this way, that it would because I just think of music just being for just people, just for human beings, just people who could just enjoy music, and it doesn't have to be for left or right, and even like the idea of left and right, or I guess saying liberal or conservative. And to me, like on a simple level, it's almost like I could just think of being either soft or hard, and it's not. I don't think it's that big a deal, I mean, it's sort of like you could sort of make the. Sometimes I make the analogy to say maybe parenting, or maybe even like the coach of a sports team, right? So you could have like the coach of a sports team, and maybe he could be hard or he could be soft, and you could see the maybe if he's soft, maybe that helps the team, or maybe it hurts the team, or maybe but if he's hard, maybe that helps the team. That hurts. I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer to that. But today people are so like passionate about it that there's this absolute hatred. People want to kill each other over it, and I just don't think it's that big a deal. And and sometimes and I've seen this. I've seen that sometimes. It, I think like I think like with a lot of people in music, or a lot of people in entertainment, I think they automatically say that I'm with the left. That's what and the right, they can't be a part of this. And I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, yeah, I don't even, and I feel, and it sometimes I feel sad because I don't I don't know where I belong. I can't, I just I don't know. I mean, I just can't get that passionate about it. I can't get too passionate about one side or the other, and like this guy, maybe he just wrote this song, and I don't even know if he expected it to be that big a song, so it may not be perfect, and it's a simple song. I mean, it's like, I think it's like two verses in the chorus, pre-chorus, whatever. But then actually, what happened was, I sometimes, I listen. Sometimes I was just listening to the radio, and I know that there's like a radio station that's like, it's a community radio station that I listen to sometimes, and I guess you would say that it's probably more leaning left. And one day I was listening, and I heard them start talking about the song, the Oliver Anthony song, but then they didn't play it. And they actually mentioned that this other artist, Billy Bragg, did a rewrite of the song. I guess and they played that. So I don't know. I thought they were going to play, because I guess I found the song more like on the internet, but then it was just like uh, on a radio station that they were just playing music, but they didn't, I thought, oh, they're going to play Oliver Anthony, but they didn't. They played this Billy Bragg rewrite of the song, almost, and then again, I heard it again, like on another program where but it was like a separate day, and then they just happened. They said, oh, Billy Bragg came out with this song, and I'm thinking, well, he didn't really come out with the song. It was, this guy, Oliver Anthony, wrote the song, and then he did a rewrite of the song. But I mean, I don't know. They played that. They played the Billy Bragg song. I guess it's the North, the rich men earning north of $1 million. That's what that song was. But anyway, so, and what I think I'll do is, I think I'll just take a look at the song or the songs, and just kind of like try to like figure out like what's going on with the songs. Are they for the people? Are they for the left? Are they for the right? What are they? Who are they for? So let's take a look. Anyway, so here it is. So I'm going to start with the Oliver Anthony song. And okay, so all right, so they got, okay, I'm selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here, waste my life away, drive it home to drown my troubles away. So I kind of like this bullshit pay part. I guess I'm thinking like minimum wage, or maybe something that could be like a theme for unions. So I guess you could, maybe think of that as being something more on the left, right? Okay, then he goes on to the pre-chorus. So it's a damn shame what the world's got to do for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and not be true. Oh, it is, but it is, So anyway, so I'm thinking I get a sense of community there. And I think, when I think of community, I don't know. I mean, I think community is more of like a left type concept. I don't know, I guess. But anyway, that's how it strikes me. And all right, then living in the new world with an old soul, I guess that's just, I guess I don't know really what that, that's right. It's just I guess he just kind of looks back at the old ways. He's just kind of seeing the new world today, and he's just he has a connection to the old way. And there are a lot of people that feel that way. They look at the way things, I guess, with the modern times and all the new technology that we have, and they feel more of a connection with the old days. Anyway, then he goes on to this part, the rich men north of Richmond. All right, so then, okay, so he's saying rich. So I guess or automatically you have to, just the thought is that rich is associated with power, and I think that's kind of universal. Like most people would say that, but I don't want to necessarily say that all rich people are bad. I mean, maybe there could be some rich people. Maybe there are people. Maybe it could even be somebody who could have been poor, and maybe whatever, they found a way to earn money to increase their income, or maybe they won lotto. I don't know, or whatever. But anyway, maybe it didn't make them a bad person. Maybe they achieved wealth, but but whatever, maybe they give to charity, or maybe they're willing to, I'll pay my taxes, whatever, or I want to help people. Maybe maybe it's sincere. So yeah, anyway, but look, most people would probably just say that, rich people are associated with power, and then but then the power being used in ways that are like, I mean, I guess only benefiting the people who are in power, and hurting the greater population, right? So there's an issue of inequity, issues of the distribution of wealth, that there is a few people who have the wealth and have the power, or the people, or a few people in power, and they control the society, and then there are people who are powerless. But it's basically, I guess, we live in a society, economic society, where you pretty much, you really need to have money in order to thrive in the human society. But then, okay, so that's also Richmond, north of Richmond. Okay, so I guess it's kind of, talking of like this north-south divide, right? So, which I guess would almost imply, well, I guess he's from the south, and I guess he's looking at the people in the north. So maybe that might have a leaning towards right, might be more conservative, because I guess there's more of a thought that there might be more than, you might have more conservative in the South. And he didn't have to use that. I mean, I guess it could have been like maybe coastal versus more like mid areas or rural areas, or I don't know, maybe it could have been that. But he divided it between and I'm thinking, I guess he means Richmond, Virginia, right? But I guess it's just he's sticking up this divide between the North and the South. And okay, Lord knows they all just want to have total control, want to know what you think, want to know what you do. I guess that's privacy, Big Brother. I'm thinking of like, when Edward Snowden, blew the whistle on these things that the government was doing and spying on citizens. Maybe getting into that there, which I don't know if that's necessarily left or right. I don't know. That could just be something that just generally people are concerned about. All people might care about that, and they don't think but I know you do. And that, to me, that's just kind of like, these people in power. I guess they think they don't have such high thoughts of these people that they control, that they're spying on and doing things. And but the people actually, the people do know, right? So I guess that's just kind of this sort of elite arrogance, which is something that I guess could be agreed upon from either left or right. Because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end. So then, okay, so he goes in the tax part. And then generally, I would, most people would say, like, when you're complaining about tax, that's something that goes with the right. But then, I think everybody pretty much knows that, like, that nobody would want to pay taxes, or if there were taxes, I guess people, you would want it to be fair taxation, right? So, I guess maybe I guess maybe the wealthy would get taxed more, right? But in general, like any person, basically whatever you're making whatever money you're making, and then they're taking out taxes, so it's less money that you get. But then, understanding the human society, that the taxes pay for whatever the things that you need in the human society, but of course there could be certain things that are going, which I guess he gets into like later on in the song. But anyway, let's move on with the next verse 2. All right, so I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. So I just kind of, maybe, when he's making the song, it just, he had, they got, and this is, like, I've tried to write songs, and if I see like some kind of a nice cool play on words things, and like, you could throw that into the song, and there it is. Like, you have the minors and the minors, so that it could be just something that in his mind he was like, oh, that's cool, I could talk about minors and and then I can kind of like connect these things together. And people get so crazy about this, but hey, maybe it's just he just came up, maybe he just came up with this thing, this kind of play on words, and just said, "Oh, I could just put these two things into the song," and mind you, when you're making a song, you might actually come up with like many different ideas for a verse, or different ideas of what you're going to put in the song, and you just might just write them all down, and then basically in the end you make your final cut. And you say, well, I just wanted this song to just have two verses, so anyway, I put these things. So he's got the part about well, of course, politics. Well, that gets universal. I mean, we all, both right and left, we don't like the politicians. But okay, anyway, so when he says miners, and I guess he's talking about coal miners, right? But then that brings up, so then that actually could be, um, I guess when you mention coal is a fossil fuel, and then that's something that the left doesn't, they don't go for that, right? They don't, they're so conscious of environmental things. That's like a big talking point from the left. But then, maybe the miners might just need a job. So, he may care about the environment, but he just needed a job. So he had to work at a coal mine. But then, okay, then, all right. But then he goes on, but then, yeah, the miners on an island somewhere. So I guess everybody pretty much, from what I've heard, I guess everybody clearly says that's a reference to Epstein Island, right? So, and I think that was, people kind of saw that as a talking point that came from the right, right? But then, the thing was that I guess the people that were attending, I guess it was like powerful people, politicians, rich people, and some celebrities and stuff, and if maybe, I don't know if they were all Democrats. I don't, maybe it could have been, I think it could have been both, but so I don't know if that's necessarily automatically a right thing, and then it's talking of the exploitation of children, and then that would be like, again, that would be something that would come from the left or the right. Okay. So anyway, but then next part, okay, Lord, we got folks in the street ain't got nothing to eat. And then that, actually, right when I heard that part, I thought of the song, Steve Miller Band had this song Fly Like an Eagle. I Seal covered it. So yeah, I guess there's a part of feed the babies who don't have enough to eat. How's the people living in the street? So I kind of thought about that, but then, and that's a cool song, and I guess that song was just really, and that song is kind of, well, it's got the eagle in it, so the eagle is kind of like this symbol, maybe like an American symbol, which maybe that can go with the right, but then I think there's like a lot of the theme of freedom in there, and then freedom seems to be something that kind of goes with the right. So, but anyway, why am I talking about Fly Like an Eagle? I'm supposed to be talking about this song, but and it was a cool song, Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller Band. That was, it's a really, really cool song. A simple song too, really not that many words to it. And anyway, let's get back to this. But okay, so then we can to the obese milk and welfare. Well, I guess this is where, I think people, I guess people really say, oh wow, what is he doing there? Well, yeah, so there's, well, okay, well, obese, right? So I guess, I guess, and I guess that would be something a liberal wouldn't do that. Somebody on the left, like they wouldn't, they wouldn't, like, it's like body shaming, right? So I guess you're supposed to have this sensitivity to everybody, right? You're supposed to have like this ultra sensitivity, and then of course milk and welfare, of course. Well, that's would be a right type thing, right? So yeah, so I guess so that part, yeah, kind of glaring out that probably, somebody would say, oh well, he's talking to the right there, right? Um, complaining about people on welfare, which, I mean, actually, if you actually sort of think it out, if people were taking advantage of welfare, then, yeah, pretty much, yeah, you should agree that that's not a good thing. And actually, at one point when I was working, I knew of some people that were working in the place where I was working, and they were also they were claiming that they were on that they weren't working, they were collecting welfare, and then they wound up getting in trouble, and they guess they got they got in trouble. They might have gone to jail or something. I don't know, like but that's what happened. But that's really, yeah. If somebody's like gaming the system like that, of course, that's not good. But then okay, so then he goes on. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and 300 pounds, and he's just continuing on with this sort of like body shaming thing. He's got, I guess, maybe he's insulting small people and you know, talking about the weight thing. And okay, this part really gets some people riled up, you know, about, you know, whatnot, pay for your bags of fudge rounds, right? So yeah, so I mean, people are just, but then you know, on the other, you know, I've thought of it on another level, and you know, as I remember, you know, some years ago, I remember there was a documentary, and it was called. So it's sort of like you know, it seemed that, you know, one of the causes from the left was to be like more pro nutrition and to kind of, you know, like one of the things a lot of times from what I always understood the left was that the left would a lot of time would many times be anti-corporate, right? So so yeah, there was this Super Size Me, which was, I guess, critical of McDonald's in particular, or maybe just like the kind of like fast food industry, or maybe the idea of people you know, the idea of these of companies like, you know, selling, you know, like these unhealthy foods, right? Which didn't really do, you know, which basically didn't do a good service to the people, right? The people consuming, you know, these unhealthy foods, right? So you know, so when, you know, maybe, you know, I mean, a lot of people felt, and I guess there was sort of like, you know, you felt like, well, these some people are just so poor that that's all they can afford, is that they can afford like fudge rounds or like these unhealthy foods. But then, you know, maybe you could look at it from the perspective that he's sort of saying that people should be more nutritious, right? That like even if you're in a poor place, you live in a poor community, whatever, and you know, and you know, maybe he's trying to say that you should try to eat healthy, you know. So and I've heard of, you know, the idea is that maybe, yeah, in certain poor areas, like, you know, like you can't get like healthy supermarkets, whatever. But I know, like, you know, at one point I lived, you know, I lived in a place. I lived in Bronx, New York, you know, and it's kind of like a poor area. So I remember they'd have these bodegas stuff. So, and I think you could sort of, you know, maybe get some healthy foods there. So maybe there is a way, if you're in a poor place, you know, and you get whatever, you get food stamps or some kind of welfare, maybe you can find a way to you know, do better things for your body, right? But and that was another thing that I think it also became sort of political, like the idea of well, I think I'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, so then it says young men putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, right? So I guess yeah, it's just talking about suicide, I guess maybe suicide or homicide, or maybe people, you know, taking drugs and finding themselves, you know, in a bad, you know, being dying, basically. At 6 feet in the ground, you're dead, you know. So it's just, you know, like these things that, you know, I guess, look, I guess he's complaining about a lot of hardships that you know, regular people deal with, and some people can just were able to sort of see the song and just say, yeah, you know, maybe the song's not absolutely perfect, but he wanted to try to talk to the people. but then yeah, there were like these little codes in there that sounded like he was kind of like you know basically making a song for the right, and I think people on the right basically says, this guy, he's our voice, but I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just a song. I don't, you don't have to make such a big deal about it. Or you could, if you want. I don't know. You could make a big deal and go crazy about it, but I don't know. I just say, all right, just it's a song. Maybe it's not absolutely perfect, but I guess you could interpret it the way you want. Anyway, so then, yeah, so then like I was saying, so Billy Bragg, who's guy who's been around for a long. I mean, he's not like an overnight sensation. I mean, the Billy Bragg has been around. I mean, I don't know if he ever got like super famous, but I've heard of him. He's been around for many years, and I guess I guess he's sort of more like on the left. I guess he was always more kind of like a political activist, kind of like protest guy, whatever. But anyway, so I know that he wrote this. Well, he basically did sort of a rewrite of the Oliver Anthony song. I guess he expressed some appreciation for what he was trying to do, but then he says, "Oh, this is how I would write it." I don't know. I don't know if that's a little patronizing or what, but anyway, look, maybe Billy Bragg. I'm sure he's a good guy. I guess he's trying to write good songs and make a better society. But anyway, this is like what he had. So if you're selling your soul, working all day, overtime hours of bullshit pay, well, nothing's going to change if all you do is wish you could wake up and not be true. Well, all right. So it's kind of he's kind of playing around with the first verse, the first part of the song. Just sort of saying the same thing, but he's talking about like look, I guess you can't just dream about like hoping that like these things would not be true. So then he goes into the chorus, and then it's all unions. So join a union, fight for better pay. You better join a union, brother. Organize today. You'll see, whatever. It's just basically, saying that the union that's a solution, for the working people, and you have to organize unions, and that's pretty much like the answer. So like for everything that there are two sides to everything that you talk about, and I would say probably in general, in our human economic society, where there's such inequality as far as the distribution of wealth and whatnot, you're probably in a better place to have unions. So I was in a union. I'm still in the union. I was in this union. I was in for many years, and the union really actually sort of really helped me. Really almost saved me to I remember there's a certain point where basically I was working in this organization where if you meet certain criteria, basically your pay scale goes up, your pay level goes to the next level. But at a certain point, where I was working, it's a big company, but I guess the supervisors at that place they didn't want me to get to that, and it probably would happen a lot in the company, where they just kind of like wanted to keep people at a lower level, not getting up to the next pay level, and not having job security, and they wanted to keep me in that place, and actually they almost fired me. I almost got fired. They wanted me to write a letter, basically saying that I needed to work on my work, had to improve, and I needed a lot more to learn, whatever. I wasn't ready to move to the next level, but I wouldn't do it. But then the union basically bailed me out, really kind of came on strong to the employer, saying, you can't do that to this person. But anyway, over time, though, I did see that the union the union that I was in became weaker and weaker. And it almost got to the point where the union many times would more side with the employer more than the worker, so that something like that, I guess would create a bad image for the union, where it would always be to the point where people might say, well, I don't want to pay my union dues because what is it doing for me, right? And then on the other side also, I would again, I would probably say probably most of the time, unions would be a good thing, but of course, like they just have to be held under some kind of scrutiny. They have to be kept doing the right thing. But I guess I could see somebody like a non-union person, maybe in a smaller company, whatever, might say that, well, I could develop like a relationship with my employer. I kind of know like what my talent is, what my abilities are, whatever, and then I can just kind of make a contract with my employer, or just make a agreement in some way, and sort of say, look, this is what I'm going to do for you. You might get some guys working for you who aren't really gonna do the job, but I can do it, and I'll prove it to you. I can do it, and that's it. We just make this agreement, and they say, and then there's this sort of saying, look, no, I don't need the union because I know this guy has his company, and the company is established, whatever, and I know that I can join into that company and be a player in that company and add profit to that company, and make his company better, and I get paid well, and we kind of like take care of each other, right? So that's like an argue. If somebody wanted to argue against union, somebody can sort of say something like that. But anyway, I don't want to like really talk about this too much. So then, okay, so anyway, so verse 2. Okay, so if you form a union, you'll find that working people are one of a kind. All right, so again, he's talking about unions. He's talking about solidarity, and yeah, I mean, I understand. I know that's something that people can think of unions as good things, and probably for the most part they probably are good things. Then okay, so then goes on to verse 3. So I guess now he's trying to deal with the part with where Oliver Anthony kind of like got into this whole thing about the obese and the fudge rounds and the 300 pounds and all that. So then he said, okay, so if you're struggling with your health and you're putting on the pounds, doctor gives you opiates to help you get around. Well, wouldn't it be better for folks, me, if medicine was subsidized, healthcare was free? Okay, so here I'm seeing, well, okay, so it's on a certain level, I'm hearing drugs and pharma, right, which is something that like this became like a debate in recent times, and it's sort of like to me, it's sort of like I think I always thought like if you're left, you're kind of like you're just anti-corporate, but it almost seems like in the way like left and right are defined today. It's almost like it almost got to the point where like the left would actually almost defend like pharmaceutical corporations, right? That they would kind of like more side with them. And if you didn't, you were like more on the right. But whereas the right might be more in favor of like oil and gas corporations, right? They might like defend them more. So then of course the left says that, well, you're polluting the environment. But in a sense, like they're both like sort of they both sort of align themselves with corporations. So it's a weird thing. And then of course also like another thing is like military, military arms companies, arms corporations, whatever. It's become like the issue of war, which was always something that I think was something that was traditionally like the left would be anti-war, but it's almost like today it's kind of like that's become, I mean, I think it's pretty much universal that like you support like certain things. I mean, like it's become like a debate now with in the United States being involved, supporting a war effort, but some people sort of saying that, well, and I mean, it was like the right, which a lot of times was more like in favor of war, but now it's almost like it seems like the right is sort of questioning, expenditures for a certain war that is not like a war of the United States. It's like a war of another country. So look, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, I was talking about this here. So yeah, it's he kind of like says you're struggling, with your health and you're putting on the extra pounds. So maybe he's sort of suggesting nutrition and exercise, but then he says, he talks about the medicine that if medicine was subsidized and healthcare was free. So I guess he's sort of implying Medicare for all, which I guess that's more like a left type idea. And I have some thoughts on that as well too, because I've actually I was able to get health, from my employer and from the union, kind of the employer and the union in conjunction created a system by which I can have health care. But, the health care that I can get, it's sort of like I would only be able to use like the doctors that were more like the doctors that were more in line with pharmaceutical things, right? Where, like, for instance, like sometimes I wanted to get holistic care, right? I wanted, to deal with whatever, if I was having some kind of health issues, I wanted to try holistic care, but it was not covered in my health coverage. And I also wanted to try acupuncture, and that was not covered. So, I had to like sort of lean toward a pharmaceutical solution. So, I mean, it's sort of like when we talk about when we're talking about, basically we're talking about health and Medicare for all, which is maybe a good thing, but maybe we could expand our thoughts about that and think about like all types of ways of dealing with better health, right? It may not necessarily have to be a pharmaceutical solution, and that whole, there's like a whole area of debate which I haven't even really touched into now, but maybe you kind of know what I'm talking about. But anyway, let me move on to the next part. So then, yeah, he does another chorus here, and it looks like he's kind of just like repeating the chorus again, but this time now he's saying, join the union, fight for better pay, come on, join the union, sister. So he's bringing in gender here, and this is, if it comes down to the self same thing, if you're black or white or brown, so then he's bringing in race. So I guess this kind of so he's kind of like coming from a left perspective, and he's saying, well, he's got to like he has to mention the sisters and he has to mention race and stuff. So, which, yeah, look, I get. I mean, he's sort of talking to the left there. And then, but but he actually, I think maybe this part organized today, maybe he could have says, maybe you could have changed that to, even if you're gay, come and join the union, sister. Even if you're gay, comes down to self same thing. If you're black, white, or brown, so then he would be, would be like, he's doing gender, race, sexual orientation, getting it all into one chorus there. But I don't know, anyway. So now, all right, so then okay, verse 4. So we know your culture wars were here to destroy. All right, now culture wars, I guess, both sides, I guess they accuse the other side of doing these culture wars. So I don't, the left says that the right does the culture wars, the right says the left does the culture wars, right? And then it says, while libertarian billionaires avoid paying tax, right? So so libertarian, well, I know, libertarian is, well, it's not necessarily the right, not all right are libertarian, because I guess really the idea of libertarian is just about being free. So I guess it's more like being, basically, I guess you're saying you don't want to pay taxes when you're libertarian, but then at the same time, you're given social freedom, so that I guess if you could do drugs, you could free, or you can have gay marriage and all that stuff. That which is and those are things that traditionally, people on the right may not be so happy about those things. And then okay, you want to talk about bathrooms? What bathroom? He's talk he's talking about trans stuff. That's a whole big, he just put it into one word there, bathrooms. Talking about I guess because I guess that's he's saying the right, yeah, I guess that's what he meant there, right? Well, the flood waters rise, the forest on fire, the wind burns. So I guess the environment, climate change. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, that again, that's a talking point from the left. And then, look, and there are people on the right who make the claim that they may not say that I don't know if they're denying it, but I guess they sort of say that it's an agenda or something. But that's like a whole area of debate. Anyway, so then it goes on. All right. So then, all right. So they want to divide us because together we're strong. Are you going to take action now? You sung your damn song. If you don't like rich men having total control, you better get the union to roll. Okay, so again, he's getting back to the unions. Yeah, and then it says join the union, fight for better pay. Come on, join the union. Organize today, no matter if you live in the city or some country town. So yeah, look, he's talking to the people in the city. He's talking to people in the country. He's trying to, and he's saying that rich men earning north of $1 million. So he's just basically, fighting the rich people, right? So anyway, yeah, I guess that's what Billy Bragg did. It looks like he took the song and really kind of made it, very obviously left, which it. I mean, I kind of understand what he's doing, but like somebody on the right, they may look at this and see certain things that they're not going to be completely on board with this. So yeah, I mean, it would be a cool thing if maybe Billy Bragg and Oliver Anthony maybe got together and collaborated on a project or something. Maybe that would be a cool thing. I don't know, but hey, I'm here and I've been doing a lot of covers. Maybe at some point I'll just say fuck all this and just do originals, and but probably nobody will ever find my originals because my originals have no connection to anything. I mean, it's sort of like when I do covers, it's sort of like people know the artists that I'm covering, so they search for them and then they find me. Anyway, I guess I think I've said enough. And I just sort of found this quote here from Bobby Seale. We hate no one because of their color. We hate oppression. You don't fight racism with racism. The best way to fight racism is with solidarity. I don't know why I threw that in there. But anyway, I think I've said enough for now. And yeah, I think I've said enough. And I'm gonna end this now.